Hey everybody, welcome to another Game Informer live stream. I'm Jeff Marchiafava and I'm here with Matt Miller.
Hello, hello.
And we're taking a look at Guerrilla Games' new open world adventure, Horizon Zero Dawn.
Adventure, role-playing game, action. What do we even
Plenty
call this
action.
game?
I'd say open world action game mostly.
This-
There's RPG elements to
There's
it. but-
stealth stuff going on. There's lots. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff in this live stream.
Yes, we are.
Next couple hours, I think we're gonna. I think we've got a spot here that should be pretty cool, where we're going to be looking at stuff that's non-spoilery.
Yes.
Mostly, right? I mean, you're watching
as much as we can.
As much as we can. This is a little ways into the game, but we're not doing like main side missions or main story mission stuff,
Yeah.
right? We're doing side missions that aren't really central to the story. You're going to see some stuff that are like locations you're going to visit later in the game, but nothing too crazy.
Yeah, we want to keep it as spoiler-free for people as possible. I reviewed this game for us. I played about 55 hours of it while reviewing it. Gave it an 8.75. I really enjoyed it. Miller, you said you're about 15 hours in at this point? Is
Yeah,
that right?
this save right here is about 15 hours in, and I've been doing a lot of hunting and gathering.
That's good.
And right now I'm going to sneak up on this raccoon right here. He was looking at me funny a little earlier.
Right. Yeah.
And
you
before
can't-
we do
you can't
anything
let
else,
that pass.
I feel like we need to do something about that. Oh,
Oh,
gonna get him.
Miller. Okay, rough start. That's all right.
there's our raccoon. What we actually want to do though is we're gonna like go find some collectibles to start us out. There are these maps that you can pick up. Which, by the way, little pro tip: get the maps.
Yeah.
Buy those
You want to get
maps
them right away.
right away. As soon as you find a merchant that's got some maps on him, you just buy those on up.
And you only have to buy them once.
You only have to
too.
buy them once, and let's just pause for a second here. We're going to look some more at this map over the course of the live stream. But look how big this map is. This is a big place.
It's a real big
In the
place.
first
Yep.
like 15 hours of the game, I'm just kind of in this space. Now, to be fair, I'm doing a lot of side missions.
Sure.
Doing a lot of like hunting, gathering, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm probably going through the story a little bit slower. Well, a good bit slower than you would have to. If you were really moving through this game, you would have a whole big section of this
Yeah.
map already done.
You can go faster, sure.
But if you really want to explore and you really want to do all the side missions and you really want to hunt down all the collectibles, you're looking at, I mean, this could be a really lengthy game.
For sure, yeah.
I think
like I said, I played for about 55 hours. I did most of the side missions. I skipped a lot of the collectibles and kind of hunting trials and things like that because that's not quite as compelling, but it's definitely there if you're digging this world and you want to keep going, and if you really like that aspect of open world games as well.
Right. Well, let's start out with some action here right now. We got some corrupted watchers up here. And
yeah, those guys are bad news.
these guys are kind of bad news. I'm going to start out by shooting one of them.
Oh, Miller.
I got him. It's all good. Now this guy, though, is looking for me.
Yeah, he's not happy with
He
you.
is ticked off. You can see his little red alarm meter has found me already. So at this point, I'm in like open combat with him. And I also have a corruption kind of curse thing on me because I basically got kind of poisoned by him.
Yeah, those red glowy spots in the ground will leech off damage if you stand in them. So you want to watch out for that.
Now I'll show you one of the things I kind of like in the combat. You can do crafting sort of on the fly. You can see I'm sort of in the midst of a big fight right now, but just even as I'm sitting here, I can like kind of slow down things just a little bit, reload my bow, recraft some new ammo, and I'm pretty much good to go.
Yeah, it's all done from that weapon wheel, so you don't have to worry about hopping into a menu, into the main menu to figure out which things you want to craft or anything. It's all done very fast, right when you need it.
A couple questions from the chat. Does the frame rate feel smooth throughout the game?
I have noticed some frame stutters from time to time, but nothing significant. How about you, Jeff?
Yeah, it runs at 30 frames per second, which is another question that he was asking. And yeah, it's pretty solid throughout.
Yep.
You don't have to worry too much. Let's see.
I'm gonna finish these guys off, and then we'll go do some
Sure.
wandering.
Arya Hawk asks, if you could describe the game in 10 words, what would you say it is?
Oh man,
I can do it in 2 words.
Yeah.
Robot dinosaurs.
robot dinosaurs are pretty key to this whole thing.
Yeah. That's kind of the most unique aspect. There are like 25 different types of these robots. They all have different components and different styles of attacks, and you have to kind of figure out how to approach each one. And that's where I think this game really sets itself apart from other open world games. There are a lot of activities that you'll kind of see from other open world games, like clearing out bandit caps and stuff like that. But the combat against the robots is really unique to this one.
I'm sorry, that was more than 10 words, Jeff. You have failed.
That is true.
I
should have stuck with robot dinosaurs.
You should have.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you? Okay, I think for me, I would say that though the robot dinosaurs are awesome, for me, what's awesome about this game is discovering this new world. They've done an awesome job of world building, and anybody who follows much of the writing that I do on the website knows that that's like a big deal for me.
That is why I wanted you here today, Miller.
I love fictional settings. I love seeing the way that a smart, creative team of developers can like craft an interesting universe, and it's a relative rarity to find somebody do something totally from scratch like this. Yeah. This isn't based on a book. It's not based on a movie. It's not a sequel to anything. It's its own thing.
Mm-hmm.
Let me pause that thought for a second and talk about what I'm doing right now. So I had marked on my map one of the things on my map. I bought those maps I talked about.
Right. The collectibles.
And somewhere in the vicinity of the circle where that collectible is, I can find this thing. And this is a collectible that once I get a full set of these vessels, they're basically coffee cups from the old world. I can go and turn them in and get some cool rewards.
Yes.
There's a lot of that kind of thing going on in this game where it's easy to get distracted, right? Mm-hmm. We looked at the map a little bit earlier, but let's take a little bit closer look here. Just some of the things that you're going to be encountering. You've got a campfire here. This is a campfire I haven't gone to. We're actually going to be kind of moving south towards the goal of where we're headed. But we have these different collectibles we can pick up. We have campfires. These are hunting grounds where we can find a very particular type of machine because for some reason we might need to be hunting one of the resources that particular animal has. You have ruins of the old world like this. All those big old buildings that you see hanging around, that's some of the stuff that we were looking at. And as you expand out, you can see all sorts of other crazy stuff. These are corrupted zones that we can go take over. There are settlements that we can go find. There are obviously lots and lots of side missions and quests to go after. Here's one of the settlements over here. There's merchants to go pick up stuff. I think one of the things that surprised me about the game is how much of an RPG it is. You know?
Sure.
Like, there's a lot of elements to this game. I mean, even though it's an action game at its heart, it does have a lot of opportunities to like level up and to, talk to characters, to make choices not necessarily in directing the story, but in how you respond to what's happening in the story. It has almost alludes a little bit to something like Mass Effect in its conversation style.
You're not going in and like deciding which stats of hers to upgrade or anything like that.
But you are deciding on abilities for her.
Yep, and that's kind of more along the lines of like Far Cry or something.
Yeah.
But like you said, they did a great job building out the world, and that very much does feel more like an RPG than maybe your typical action game.
Agreed.
Got people wondering about the heads-up display, saying it's a little busy. If there's a way to tone that down at all, or no?
Yeah, you can go into the options and choose which kind of things you want to toggle on and off.
Yeah, you can.
And it is especially busier, I think, in the opening hours. But you can go in and say like, okay, only show this to me when it's absolutely relevant to what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And those kind of things. I did notice another question was, can you replay story missions? You can't do that. So you'd have to start all over again if you want to check things out.
Mm-hmm. go pick up this campfire here.
And another question, sorry, I forgot that for a second, was what's the platforming like, and how does it compare to Assassin's Creed?
I think that there are many ways that this game is comparable to Assassin's Creed. Actually, its platforming is not one of them.
Yeah, I would say that too. It's very fast, you're not doing a whole lot of platforming. I think people may have seen the early demo. Oh, watch out, Miller! Those guys are bad news.
They are bad
They
news.
saw the demo where you're kind of crawling up the tall neck machines.
Yeah.
Which is very Assassin's Creed-esque, but otherwise, you're not using it too often. You'll see like specific spots on like canyon walls that you can climb up, but it's very quick. It doesn't. I wouldn't say that it's too much like Assassin's Creed, though.
Yeah.
I actually prefer more than Assassin's Creed's style of climbing.
Yeah, I'm torn about that. I mean, I like AC's brand of exploration, sort of vertical exploration. I think there's a little bit less of that here.
Yeah. For sure.
But there are some pretty fun things to do where you need to climb up this mountain to get to something. And they do have a climbing system. They just haven't spent a lot of time with it.
Right.
It's more that you every once in a while you'll see these like yellow handholds that are a way to escalate up a mountain or a building or something like that.
I'd say it's more like Uncharted.
Yeah.
Would perhaps be a better touch
In terms of how complex it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whereas Assassin's Creed is very much a kind of climb.
It's an
anywhere
entire
kind of game.
system of going up or down on the fly.
Now, I said that it has some stuff in common with Assassin's Creed, more than I was maybe expecting it to. And one of the big ways that that's true is the actual like hunting gathering system is very reminiscent of games in that series, particularly ones like AC3, where you spend a lot of time out in the wilderness doing stuff. Yeah.
And if you haven't, if that's not a good touchstone for you, it's also very Far Cry as well.
Sure.
You'll notice that you basically have a bunch of different inventory satchels that determine how many arrows you can carry or other things, and you'll be upgrading those by hunting actual organic animals, like boars and rabbits and raccoons, which Miller got earlier.
I told you, man, that raccoon was looking at me the wrong way.
Yep. We have another question from A Friendly Gamer who asks, how are the checkpoints in the game? Can I quick save anytime I want?
No. You can quick save at the campfires, which are plentiful.
Yeah.
Just kind of like looking around here, the space between here and here is just like a couple minutes run. Here's another one like right here. Here's another one right here. It's not that far.
They are all over the place. And the game will also autosave for you during
at important
missions
moments
and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you find yourself sort of, oops, I'm still on my other item here. If you find yourself in a bad hard fight at the end of a mission that you're really struggling with, then if you die, you're not going to have to redo the whole thing or go back to your last campfire. It's much more forgiving.
They'll
than that.
spawn you usually right before that battle takes place.
Now, I'm curious for your experience, Jeff. At this point, about 15 hours into the game, I just am constantly picking stuff up.
Yeah.
Is that how you played the game, or did you just start to like run past stuff?
It was, and it took me a while to break myself of the habit later on in the game. I upgraded my inventory to maximum so I could carry 100 slots of things, and that's a little deceiving because you also carry stacks as well. So like the sticks that you pick up, each inventory slot is 250 of them. Right. I had like 3,000 on me, and that's when I finally, I started running out of space, and it was finally like, okay, I'm just not going to pick up any more sticks.
Yeah.
All the crafting items are really abundant. I found that wire ended up being kind of the one bottleneck that I would run into, and that mainly depends on which ammo types and which weapons that you're using. So you can avoid that by just switching to other ammos, or putting mods into one of your different bows that uses different ammo types and kind of boosting it up that way. So.
Well, let's talk. We have some different machines here. I would say this is the most standard machine.
Yes.
Yeah. These are the Watchers. These guys are the ones you often see them with another herd, and they are they're real easy to bring down.
Yep.
You see, I just kind of whistled and got that one's attention.
Yeah, that's a good opening ability is the lure call. You'll want to unlock that one as fast as possible.
Yeah.
Silent Strike is the other one, which you had an
There's
option
another
there.
one. Let's use something else with this guy here. I'll show you one of the other items I quite like in this game. This rope thing, I'm going to, like, tie this guy down. And he
There
is
you
now
go.
disabled.
Some people want to know, is this similar to The Witcher 3?
I think it is comparable to The Witcher 3 in some important ways. And hey, this is just an opportunity. Speaking of important ways that it shares similarities with RPGs, we just passed a level. So let's look at the ability screen. This is one way that it shares something with Witcher in terms of like you're slowly gaining new abilities along a tree here. Nothing too complicated, but there are some interesting abilities here. I'm going to pause on a few of them so you can kind of see some of the stuff I've already done. You can see I'm most focused in the Prowler tree. I really like some of the stuff that's coming through there that lets me do some up close and personal like spear kills, but often doing it from stealth. You have other stuff that's, this Brave tree is, I think it's fair to say, is more focused on like overt combat, maybe? Might be the way to think about it.
Yeah.
Where you can see like some of these videos are showing off like open combat with enemies. And then Forager is mostly built around what you're going to be doing in terms of gathering and building stuff, crafting stuff.
Yep.
And you get 1 point every level. So I've actually built up here. I've got 4 points saved up at this point in the game. How shall we spend them, Jeff? Should I get the strong? Should I get my first thing that's down in the bottom of the tree and get Strong Strike?
It's interesting because you're building out completely differently than I did.
Yeah. What did you do?
I focused on, let's see, the Brave ones, the shield ones up there. I did those two because those help you break off things. Basically, I think your ranged attacks are really powerful in kind of the early, 10 or 15 hours. You don't have to worry too much about those because you're unlocking different kinds of arrow types.
Sure.
So I tried to shore up the melee a little bit by going for those. But your strike
That's probably
abilities
a
are
good one,
as well,
huh?
too.
Get
Sure.
the 30% damage
Sure.
bonus. We can do that. Let's do that, and then we'll get one from your recommendation along the precision tree here,
Sure.
because this actually is a pretty good one.
Yeah.
The Movie Planet wants to know, how long ago did this start? Is this the beginning of the game?
This is about 15 hours into the game, and by way of reference, I am moving very slowly through this game, and part of the reason I'm doing that is I really like this game so far, and I kind of want to do all of it. I enjoy the collectible stuff. I enjoy the side missions, so I've been doing a lot of that stuff, and kind of like every time I get a new main mission, I'll hold off on doing it until I've done almost everything else I can do in that area, and then I'll move on.
That's not too bad of an approach.
Yeah.
It definitely should help you with leveling up for later on.
Now, you'll notice I'm working on a side mission right now that involved me needing to get some boar skin. I just got the last piece of that. So now all I need to do is go and get the ring. And so let's show off a little bit the fast travel system. I can go to any campfire I have previously discovered, and this is my mission site right here, and I can jump to it. You can see down here I just press R2 to travel. I have packs that I can get that I use, but you can eventually craft a thing that lets you do unlimited fast travel.
Yeah, and you can buy it from merchants. That's how I got it.
Yeah,
and
you can buy that.
If I remember correctly, that shows up pretty early.
Yeah, it's not super far in, I don't think, before it's an option. That said, I have not had any time that I was like, oh man, I just wish I could fast travel right now.
Yeah, and you didn't have a pack for it, or?
Well, that hasn't happened because I actually spend a lot of time just
sure.
running from place to place.
Yeah.
The game does, in some ways, encourage you to do that because there's a lot of fun things to see, but there's also gathering to do, right? And like for instance, right now I've got like one full med herb thing. That's what the little first aid sign below my health bar means. But I can fill it up some more. I can get it all the way up. And when I find these little red ochre blooms, you'll note that my green meter scoots up a little bit. So when you get into a big fight or you accidentally get ambushed or something like that, there's lots of times that you use that up pretty quickly. And then, you know, you want to spend some time just kind of wandering through the world. And as such, I more frequently just kind of run ahead and do some gathering along the way rather than doing fast travel.
Sure. That will probably change as you get later into the game because there are some missions where it will just track you from one end of the map all the way to the other, and it would be like, you know, an hour journey if you didn't fast travel. But
there we go.
there you go.
You can see all the enemies have weak spots. And I also have this concentration ability, which is a very handy thing to use.
Yeah, for sure.
It slows down time for a little while. You can improve that and get it so that it doesn't run out as quickly, and so that you can I can show you again. So here I'm aiming. I'm not using concentration. This is what it looks like when I'm doing that, and then when I do the concentration, it sort of zooms in. If there were enemies on screen, they'd start moving slower. And that's a pretty handy thing to use from time to time.
Thought I found this.
Got a question about the variety in the missions, namely, is there variety to the missions?
Yeah, sure. What would your answer be to that, Jeff?
Yeah, I'd say there is. There are these kind of activity types that are basically the same every time. You'll do the clearing out bandit camps or whatever. But I think there's a good amount of variety in the story missions and side missions, which are also story missions, basically. There's basically like 3 tiers of story missions, which are main quest, side quest, and then errands. And even some of the errands are actually pretty interesting and will incorporate characters that you meet, you know, in the larger quests.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. I'm going to stay off the main story quest just to
Sure.
avoid spoilers too much. But we can kind of look at some of what you're describing there here. This is a side mission that I've got where I need to go way out west and go to the Day Tower to find this girl named Nakoa. I have this mission that is this big overhanging thing that at some point after the live stream, by the way, Jeff, I'm going to ask you about this one.
Yeah. Well,
there's some mysteries here.
Yeah, we can, without any spoilers, that is one that's going to hang over your head for a long time.
Figured, yeah.
You kind of, you find that one early, and you'll want to be on the lookout for these power cells.
Yeah.
But you won't find them for a long time.
I kind of figured that. I'm right now doing the Luck of the Hunt, which is this simple little side mission where I need to get some boar skins and then track down the area. But the variety, as to the original question, comes through things like this, right? I come to this area and I've got this item that's on my forehead. You can kind of see it by her right ear if I rotate appropriately. It's kind of
basically a
hard to look at
Bluetooth.
It's a Bluetooth.
A fancy Bluetooth.
Yeah. And that lets me do all sorts of fun things in terms of scanning the world and understanding the world. But one of the things it lets me do is highlight tracks. And so I'm like following the tracks of this hunter in order to solve this mission.
Yeah, it's very much, Detective Vision in Batman, Witcher Sense, or something like that in The Witcher. You've probably seen this mechanic before.
Just some more questions about frame rate. Again, this is 30 frames per second, correct?
Yeah.
And do you guys know if the PS4 Pro does $60? I assume that's still at 30.
Yeah, I can't remember. It does have boosted visuals, but I can't remember off the top of my head what the exact frame rate is for that. Another question, I'm sure we missed a bunch of questions here. Can you reclaim arrows off of fallen enemies? You can't.
No.
But
they're
you will
really
be,
easy to craft.
Yeah,
new ones.
you'll be getting all sorts of crafting items, and the basic arrows you would be hard pressed to fall out unless you just decided to sell all your sticks when you went to a merchant. But those basically only take sticks and metal shards, which is your basic money, and you'll have, 20,000 by the time
you're gonna have a lot
in surplus.
because there's ridgewood
yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
So let's just talk about hunting a little bit because it's one of the coolest and most innovative systems I think they have in this game. There's all these different machines that all kind of echo familiar real animals, right? But the actual machines and what they do and what their weaknesses are is always really interesting, right? So I can like tag this target. This is a grazer. And it's showing me that if I look at that particular part of it, those blaze canisters have a weakness to fire. So I'm going to put on some fire arrows here. I'm going to do my concentration.
There you go.
That's what we want to see.
Yep.
Some explosions. The opportunity to do like really cool setups for encounters in this game is very high. You often, especially as the game gets further in and you get into the deeper areas, you have times where there's multiple monsters in one encounter, and so you're having to account for different weaknesses all in one place.
Yep. And the other thing that you could have done there, it looks like you may have had them, but you get these. Some arrows will do tear damage.
Yes.
And those, if you shoot the canisters, they will simply fall off, and then you can pick them up, and they're a crafting item for, flame arrows or other ammo types that you'll get.
Exactly. Well, you can kind of see that exact thing happen here, right?
Yep.
Even though I didn't use a tear arrow, this canister of blaze, which is a crafting thing, fell off of that monster, and I was able to pick it up. You also see that, again, my compulsion to just constantly run around and pick stuff up will only take me so far because this is now red. The medicine pouch is full and I can't do anything more with it. But if I do this, that's how the healing system works. Now I can gather it.
There you go. Let's see. Other questions. Is there a death penalty? Do you lose items or currency or anything like that?
Nope. It's that's pretty straightforward. When you die, you go back to the last campfire save, or if you're in a mission and there's like checkpoints in that mission, then you can do that. You can't. I'm just waiting for someone to ask me because I was jumping over the river. Yes, you can swim. I just want to point that out. It's not a problem.
Let's see. I Do Stuff 2010 asks, how is inventory space handled? Is it like Bethesda games where everything has a weight? You don't have to worry about weight.
You do have to worry about inventory space, but they do a lot of things to help you out with that because you have crafting and you can improve your carry capacity. So let's look at that for a second. Let's say I'm filling up on my resources, which is the crafting stuff. As you can see, I've already upgraded that to the highest level. I can now carry like 100 different resources. Now, for outfits, I haven't gone all the way yet. If I wanted to, I could go up to Outfit Satchel Upgrade 3, but to do that, I would need fish bones. Now, one of the things I think is very cool here is that you can actually create your own mission to go get that thing. Like, if you are considering your priority right now, it's like, I'm sick of not having enough room for all the outfits that I want to buy. You can create a job, and I can just make it and just leave it like that, or I can make it my active quest. And when I go back out, it will give me options to go and get another fishbone. It'll point me towards that's the thing I need to do.
Yep. And I Do Stuff 2010 asks a follow-up question. So will everything take up one slot? And it's a little more complicated than that. Everything will stack to a certain amount.
Yeah.
And so sticks is 250. Other things, there will be like 25.
So we were talking before about my resource thing. I've got a capacity. It's filled 86 out of 100. And the reason it is because I've got a bunch of stuff that I don't need, right? Look, I will never need all of this blaze.
Yeah.
Right? So I can go to a merchant and I can sell a bunch of this, and it'll get me a pretty good price. If I sell one stack of this, I think it'll end up being worth like 200 shards, which is the currency. And so inevitably I will do that. I really like that it tells me used for over on the right here.
Yeah.
So I can see like this is a thing that's used for crafting, but it's also used for trading, and it's also used for selling for metal shards.
Yeah.
And that is an important distinction.
Yeah, you'll want to pay attention to that. And basically, if you're unsure, just sell the ones that say
Selling for
only
metal
say
shards.
selling for metal shards. Yeah,
Exactly.
because like the lenses and hearts and braiding, which are all drops that you get from robot enemies,
Yep.
you'll also use those for trading.
Yep.
So sometimes you'll go to a merchant and they'll have a better weapon that you want.
But it'll need 2 of these
Yeah.
lenses or
Yeah,
something.
it's not just, okay, give me
Yeah.
500 metal shards. It's give me the shards and some lenses. And so you'll probably want to hold on to at least a couple of those.
Yes.
You won't need,
A lot.
50 of them.
So,
but-
so for instance, we could go to the merchant and I can very safely sell these 3 scrapper lenses because I already have 5
Yeah.
scrapper lenses. I'm not going to probably need a lot more. Or if I did, I could just go and get some more.
yeah.
But this is how the inventory stuff stacks. Modifications are the things that you can change your weapons and armor with.
Yes.
So we can take a look at that real quick. If I look at crafting, and then I pick out one of my currently equipped weapons. So let's look at my Karja hunting bow. Right now I've got a 15% damage bonus and a 17% damage bonus. I've just focused this weapon on like damage. If I select it, I can instead give it plus 27% fire, equip that modification, and it will overwrite the existing modification.
Yeah, and that's a good tip for the skills section. One of the bottom skills is called Tinker, and
Yeah.
that lets you just pull out those mods and keep them.
Yes, that's for the hoarders among us.
Yes,
who
that
never
was
want.
that was one of the first ones I went
I
for,
bet.
and it totally pays off. It's worth it.
You can do this modding process with a bunch of stuff in the game. There's stuff that applies to outfits. Same idea, where you kind of select a thing and you put, I want to be better at stealth when I'm wearing this outfit. And over time, I'm at this point in the game that I don't have lots and lots of outfits, but you can kind of see a couple of them I have. This one is sort of an all-around good survivor gear option.
Sure.
But then I end up wearing this most of the time because a lot of my play is focused on staying down in the high brush, doing some attacks from a distance, and kind of focusing on that stealth stuff.
Yeah. Outfits were one of the areas where I found it didn't matter as much to me. I only got
Sure.
a couple outfits and, didn't switch them between them too often.
Yeah.
But you can certainly go crazy and, get everyone. It's also, mostly it just comes down to the aesthetics and which
Right.
ones you think look cool or which ones are dorky. So
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, you can kind of wear the thing that you want, and then the modifications you put on it are going to help you out a lot.
yeah.
I'm going to try to do something pretty cool, hopefully right here, and show off Override. So this is the special power that Aloy discovers in the world, and now I can mount the Strider and ride him around. I can also
There you
take him
go.
into battle, which is pretty fun. I don't like this guy too much, and so I just,
Miller. Making him kill his own kind. That's
listen,
just cruel.
listen, man. This is the harsh wilderness. These guys, hey, where are you going? I'm not done murdering you.
Question about the functionality of the controller. Does it use the DualShock 4 motion or touchpad to any extent?
Touchpad is just for bringing up the map, and then you can kind of scroll around with it, but you're probably just going to use the thumbstick anyway. No motion control stuff, at least that I noticed in my 55 hours of playing.
Now I can hop off of my Strider. I can collect this, even while we're in the midst of this Watcher trying to hunt me down.
There you go.
I can also override him, but instead I'm just going to critical hit him. Now, a lot of the monsters that you override just fight for you, which is very handy, especially with some of the ones that are hard enemies. Sometimes you'll come across sawtooths are these big, almost like tiger-looking things.
Yeah.
And
Off I go.
and if you can override a sawtooth and have it attack its other sawtooths, that's
a big
super
help.
handy.
Yep.
So let's hop back on here. Now, interestingly, if I do something that separates me from my mount, like if I let him keep running. I kind of go up here, or I go into a town, and then I come back out the other end of the town. There is an option down on my menu below where I can summon him. Now, that only lasts for so long. I think at a certain point, even if you have a mount, it eventually expires, and you can't still do that one. But there's so many places that there are striders or chargers or broadheads, I think, is the other variety of things that you can...
They really recognize, and especially if you go to any kind of settlement, they usually will place a herd somewhere outside that you can just run up and grab a new ride for it.
Right.
Navi Hello asks, what's the ratio of robot dinosaurs to mammal dinosaurs? And then he says, Bleh, I meant robot mammals.
Robot mammals.
To normal mammals, I guess?
As in based on mammals, I guess is what he's saying. Yes?
Yeah, probably.
I think... Here, I'll show you what we can do. We can look at the notebook. This might be an appropriate moment. If you care about this kind of thing, I'm about to show you the catalog of different monsters you encounter.
Yeah, although you probably haven't seen too many of them at this point, so you don't have to worry.
But you can kind of see, these are all the different monsters. You can kind of see the different outlines of them. Some of them look like reptilian dinosaurs. The tall neck is especially cool. Others of them are a little bit stranger, right? The shell walker doesn't necessarily... Crab. Yeah, it's kind of a crab, I guess. The sawtooth is sort of like the giant cat. The broadhead looks like, a steer or an ox or something. The grazer is almost like an ostrich giraffe kind of a thing, or I don't even know exactly what you would think about it. The watcher's like a raptor dinosaur, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, there are a bunch.
It's a good mix, I'd say.
Yeah.
Not too many giant dinosaur ones, but there are a couple in there.
Yeah, agreed. So this is one of the settlements. There's a bunch of little settlements that are around in the game world. Some of them are established. Some of them are bandit camps that you actually liberate, and they become settlements after you liberate the camp. Some of them are... There's one really awesome city that you go to that's very large and has lots of different merchants in it and stuff like that. But the settlements you can kind of get a sense. I'm going to kind of show off some of the facial animation stuff here so you can see an actual conversation. We're going to go turn in this quest related to this ring we've collected for Tame.
Good hunting, I hope.
I've brought you the boar skins. And
what are you
your
wearing,
lucky ring,
Miller?
Tame.
This is my stealth outfit.
And you, of course. Where did you find it?
Halfway down a boar's gullet. Not so lucky for the boar.
I think I'll wear it around my neck from now on.
So you can see those conversations, the facial animation stuff is quite good, I think.
Sometimes it's Uncanny Valley.
There's a little bit of Uncanny Valley stuff going on, but it's by and large quite good. And there is a sense of ongoing story stuff there. You can see as I wander through the world, both in person, where I see that green exclamation mark, but also on my map, there's a new quest that's available that I'm near, and so or that I have come near to, and so it shows that to me so that I know that that's a place I can go pick that up.
We actually have one person asking if we can turn on the subtitles.
Oh, sure.
It's probably a good... There we go.
There we go. Let's see if that did it. So this is a character we'd previously met named Sona, and she's got a new mission for us.
Reinforcing Mother's Crown?
If the Nora are to weather another attack by the Metal Devil, we must brace our defenses. Still, concern is not yours. You're not mine to command.
You can still ask, War Chief.
Very well. We need to harvest Lancehorns. They carry chill water, and their lenses have many uses also.
I have chill water now.
Good. Our ice and fire will stay buff the machines. That leaves the matter of the Lancehorn lands. There's hunting to the west of here. I also need the watchtowers stocked with signal arrows. Take these to Orn's Tower in the south. If you would.
So one of the things that I think they've done a good job of is recognizing missions that you'll get a mission assignment, and even in that conversation, they've allowed for the fact that you maybe have already done part of that mission. You could see that I'd actually already collected the thing that she needed for part of that mission. And so it just kind of moved me forward on it. But let's do this here. We've got a shortage of supplies. We need to gather a Lancehorn lens and deliver the signal arrows. We'll see where this takes us to.
The Zerbs asked, without spoiling, obviously, is the story so far interesting? That is my biggest concern about this game.
Yeah.
That was my biggest concern going into it as well. And I think you could probably tell from that cutscene it's not up to, like, say, the Naughty Dog caliber of animation or writing or anything like that. But I think they really did a great job on the lore. And kind of, there are these mysteries that they kind of seed in the very beginning hours, and those follow you through the entire game. And then the game just has so many revelations, you know, built right into it. They don't kind of just like tease things for future sequels or anything like that. And so the story ended up being one of the most impressive aspects for me. Again, even though any, you know, particular cutscene may not blow you away or anything like that.
I would agree with that. Like the story isn't gonna blow you away, but the world building is amazing. Like really, really good.
Yeah.
We talked before about having encounters that can be kind of a mix of different things.
Catching it though.
This is a good example of that. We've got a sawtooth that's sort of prowling around nearby, but we need to get the materials dropped by this guy right here, the Lancehorn. So let's see what we can do.
I guess one thing that you can't really notice on stream is that every time you pop up your little Bluetooth heads up, the sound comes out of the controller.
Yeah.
That is true.
So let's kind of sneak up here.
Let's see. Evil Spiral asks, can you keep track of total playtime in this game? And you actually can. It shows up when you manually save the game. It will show your save files, and each one will say how long that you've been playing.
So what do you say? Should we try to fight this sawtooth over there just for kicks and grins?
Sure. Go for it.
All right. So he's pretty hardcore, but we're going to start out. He's kind of peeking this way. First thing we're going to do is we're going to track him, and then we're going to highlight his tracks. And next up, we're going to try to put a wire pack right in a path where he might see us. And then I'm going to try to get his attention.
Oh, Miller.
Come on over here, buddy.
Oh, he's totally not falling for
He
it.
didn't fall for it. He might do it this time,
Yeah.
though.
There you go.
Now check this out.
Oh, that's the easy way. There
I
you
know.
go.
Now what's cool about this is this guy is now going to like roam around and continue his roaming. But if he sees somebody else who he wants to, that is opposed to me, he will immediately attack it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to see if I can find anybody else around here. Any other machines? Oh yeah, he found somebody, didn't he?
Definitely sounds like it. And you'll see there's a timer above him that is slowly
Degrading.
Yeah, and that is basically how long he's going to be under your spell.
Now you can attack him, and that'll make it. He'll eventually get wise if you just start punching him.
I think it makes it decrease faster. But
Yes.
there's also one of the abilities, actually a couple of the abilities will increase that amount of time.
Sure.
And then eventually you can make it so that he will just stay indefinitely and will continue to fight by your side until he dies. So
let's kind of go back to our original plan. We'll actually...
Oh, Miller. Now you're taking on your own allies. I'm learning a lot about you in this live stream, Miller.
Some questions about the open world. Obviously, comparisons to Zelda come up in the chat.
Sure.
Yeah, I saw that. I don't know that yet. The one guy who's been playing a bunch of Zelda is not here. Wade, do you have any idea?
I do know that I think Breath of the Wild, from Reddit, it's been shown that the world in Breath of the Wild is twice the size of Skyrim's open world.
Okay.
I don't know how that compares.
That one's probably winning.
Yeah, I don't know how
I would
that
guess.
compares to this one, though.
Let's set down another one of these guys here.
Oh, it's not doing it, Miller.
I can get him.
Oh, Miller.
Everything's fine.
Someone earlier had asked about destructible environments because that's something we mentioned on the podcast. And it's not, he's not going to be digging giant holes out of the normal ground, but there will be some rocks and trees and things that they can totally barrel through, which may surprise you. There you go, Miller.
So we took out the sawtooth. You can see we got a new modification. We got some money. It's very easy in this game to get caught up in doing what I just did, which is to say, like, I'm on a mission, and then all of a sudden it just looks like it would kind of be fun to poke the hornet's nest.
Yeah, totally sidetracked.
And I get completely sidetracked. Now, we're going to get back to it. We're going to go deliver some arrows to this guy down here. Along the way, we'll see if we can refill our med pack because the sawtooth beat us up a good bit while we were kind of fighting him. I want to pause for a second just to talk about the environment art in this game, which is gorgeous.
Yeah.
They've done an awesome job. We're looking at a particular location here that's sort of this like snowy forested area, but there's later areas that are kind of like these like desert steppes, right, with these like red rock formations that are really beautiful. There's also some interior areas that I won't get into too much specifics about, other than talking about the fact that we are going to be constantly learning new stuff about the world before, right?
Yeah.
The machines and where they come from. There's some locations that are pretty neat related to those.
Definitely. And I really like that they didn't just use sci-fi as an excuse to make a bunch of robots,
Right.
They like really dive into their own lore, and all of it's really interesting.
Agreed. I think he's going to blow up in a second.
Yep.
He sure is.
Miller, you just can't help yourself.
From getting in these fights?
Yeah.
No, I'm totally serious. I'm like addicted to just these crazy little fights. I'll be good now. We're going to keep running.
Yep.
We're going to go and we're going to deliver the arrows. This little side mission here that we're going on should afford a brief opportunity to go back to an earlier question that somebody had about platforming. We're going to see a little tiny bit of that here in a moment.
Isaac asks, how is the progression system? How much better do the gear and upgrades get? Is there anything which can overpower your character? I didn't really come across anything that made me too overpowered. There's basically 3 tiers of weapons. You have 8 basic weapon types, and then there are 3 tiers for each one.
Yeah.
And you'll unlock the ability to buy all 3 pretty early on in the game. And so the one thing that I would recommend is, if you can kind of just skip the middle tier, you're probably not going to buy them. Even the basic tier, for a lot of them, you don't have to get. You can just go straight to kind of the highest tier. And then from that point on, it's really just about which mods that
You're
you're getting,
Orm?
because you will continually
Aren't
be
you a
getting
little
better
young to be a
mods
sentinel?
that you can then slot into those
You can
weapons.
talk.
Yeah.
Fair. The war chief had me bring you these fire arrows. Send up a signal the moment you see anything suspicious, all right?
I know. I'm young, not stupid. If they come back,
Just be safe.
the trip
So
down's the
sassy.
best part.
The trip down is the best part.
It is.
This is pretty fun. We're gonna do a little rappelling. It's possible that someone played some Assassin's Creed at some point and thought it was pretty fun jumping off of giant, tall locations.
Yeah. That's also not how you want to rappel, Miller. You don't jump and kind of turn around and then throw your rope.
You don't think that's safe?
No.
I was gonna go do some rappelling like that this
you
weekend.
super shouldn't, Miller.
Are you
I
sure?
like you too much. Yeah.
Right. Well, keep that under advisement. We can go back. Let's do a fast travel back to turn that in.
Steve Barfoot asks, how do skills work? Can they be unlocked at any time with the right amount of points, or do you have to learn the one prior? And most of them, you do have to learn the prior one.
Yeah.
There, you'll kind of notice little lines that connect them, and it's not always just a straight path.
Some of
but-
them are like small groups. It's just like these two abilities. You got to get this
Yep.
first ability before you can get the second ability. But other times it's like you have to get this first core ability, and there's a whole tree below it.
Yeah.
That opens up.
And so at the most, you'll probably only ever have to get like maybe 3 or 4 until you unlock kind of the bottom tier.
Right.
So it's certainly doable, but some of them are heavier investments than others.
You'll notice Sona has moved. Just a little bit more fun platforming we get to do now. I don't know, maybe just to show off that the quest giver has moved since we saw her last.
Someone's got to be up at the watchtower.
That's right. I don't know how well the live stream viewers can tell right now, but this game has an amazing soundtrack. There are multiple composers that were connected to this project, including among them, and I may get this pronunciation wrong, but
they're hunting you.
Joris Daman, who did some of the award-winning composition stuff for the Killzone franchise
Sure.
that Guerrilla did prior to this. He is one of the composers that's connected to it, but there are other composers that are also working on it. And I think this is a early contender with its various different music themes for being one of the best soundtracks in a long time.
Zaid
brought you the
asks,
Lanthorn lens,
where does
Sona.
this game rank
I'll
on
make
my
a weapon
top
with this
PS4
myself.
games
The
list?
warrior should
That
forget
list
the
was
feel of
published under
breath.
my name, but it's
And you
actually a
brought the
whole
signal
staff
arrows
thing,
to
so
learn.
that's something that we're going
did.
to have to
Kind
talk
of
about
hope
where
we
it
never has
lands.
to use them,
But
though.
it is,
We stand agreed.
I'd say it's one of my
There's a
favorite
cool war
PS4
chief
games
who
so
has a
far.
craving
Yeah, I
for
really
war.
like it a lot. I mean,
Now, all I ask of our braves is that
there's
they are
that
ready.
your review.
your aid.
You talk about things that are in your name. Your review is your
Yes.
perspective on this game. Whereas I think there's going to be lots of different
Mother
people
chest us with another storm.
who have differing opinions about this game and who like it more or less.
Yep.
Clearly, you liked it quite a bit. You gave it, I think, an 8.75,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So definitely in the top tier of recent releases. I get to do some more rappelling now. Just the way I'm going to do it this weekend. And
She should really wear gloves for that.
she
Jeez.
should.
That's bad.
So let's see. What else? What other stuff should we show off? You want to go do this corruption zone?
Sure.
I mean, that should be pretty fun.
Yes, those are pretty
I
straightforward.
know. I would love to see you guys take down one of those Tyrannosaurus Rex things.
I don't think at this point in the game we've encountered one of those guys
No,
yet.
yeah, those are further out west.
They're a little further along, but they're pretty hardcore. There is a fun sort of side activity in this game related to this hunting lodge that you join up with. Initially, it starts out, it's sort of a layered
machines.
side
I
activity.
can see the corruption coming off them like smoke.
Um,
Time to clear them out.
it starts out with the hunting grounds start out as literally these locations in the world that you go to, and they are you have tasks that you like, very specific timed tasks that you need to complete there. And when you complete enough of them at a significant, at a good time, which is not that hard to do, then you can go to this big city and you can turn them in for entrance into the lodge.
Yeah.
And that begins this whole quest line that is about joining the hunting lodge, where you go do more and more complicated hunts.
I'll tuck that away.
And that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, those are pretty, one of the cooler things. Let's see. Zakaria asks, how much does the dialogue choices play into the game, and how varied are they?
I wouldn't say they play in dramatically important ways.
No.
There are occasionally times that you get a choice between 3 different types of responses: a compassionate response, a thoughtful response, or a kind of brash and, I don't know, not mean response, but like a...
it's like
harsher response, right?
Sure.
It's got a fist icon next to it, I think.
Confrontational.
Yeah, confrontational, that's a good word. Those occasionally come back to you, right? There's one that happens early on with when you're still a little girl, where there's an encounter that you have, and you choose how you end up responding to that, to a kid who's mean to you. And then later on, when you're grown, then what you do there makes a difference.
But yeah, it's nothing like The Witcher where you're making decisions that are going to impact the story or the world. What did you do, man?
I just blew up everybody.
Yeah, it's much more about kind of just personalizing Aloy's personality, basically.
Well, that was not challenging. Now, the reason that wasn't challenging is
You blew everything
I
up.
blew everything up. It does pay to learn the weaknesses of things. These grazers had kind of a double weakness thing going on because they already have those like blaze canisters, which is basically gasoline, I think.
Yeah.
They have blaze on their backs that you can shoot that they're weak to fire, but corrupted enemies are also fundamentally weak to fire. And so by hitting that, I just kind of killed everybody instantaneously.
There you go.
Let's see. What shall we do? We have a couple other quests we can go work on. We can start working towards this daughter's vengeance thing. But I'm not sure that we're going to be able to make our way through to where we need to go yet. But let's start moving in that way. It might involve a little tidbit of like main mission doing, but I don't think it'll be in any way that is too revealing or anything. What other questions we got coming down the pipe here?
Let's see. Do you get to upgrade your armor, or is it just appearance customization? You'll be buying different outfits, basically, and those will have kind of stat boosts or resistance boosts, and those are aesthetic. So if there's something that you really like and it looks dumb, you'll just have to put up with looking dumb.
Oh, we've got an updated hunting ground. Should we go do that maybe? We're on the way.
Sure. If I do everything in this game, how many hours are we talking? That's a tough one.
I think it's more than most people expect that it's going to be.
Yeah.
It's more than I expected it was going to be. I think I went in with this perception that it was like, well, it's got some role-playing elements, but this is really more of like an action game that I'm going to finish in like 20 hours or something like that. It's nowhere near like going to be done in 20 hours.
Yeah, no, my 55 hours, I still had plenty of collectibles and a couple of side activities that I could have done. So probably
it's flexible in that regard. You could conceivably power through it and not spend too much time with it, but
depends on how often you're getting sidetracked by random animals that you decide you want to fight.
Right. Well, let's see what's going on with this. So I think there's 5 hunting grounds. Each of them have 3 tasks you can try to complete. Yep. And this guy is going to give us some options.
You can stay away. I have no quarrel with the Nora.
The Nora is our tribe.
No quarrel with you. What is this place?
These are hunting grounds, and I'm the keeper. I offer the element trials for those who want to join the Hunter's Lodge. Now you know, so you can be on your way.
Wait, what if I want to have a go at one of these trials?
Then I have to give them to you.
Do you want to learn more about this guy?
No, we don't want to know
Okay.
more about him.
But point is that there are options that let us
What's
like
the Hunter's Lodge?
explore
sounds
more
like.
story stuff if we
Place
want
where
to.
hunters
Yeah.
get
If you
together,
don't want that, you
share
can kind
war
of just be like,
stories,
yeah,
and
yeah,
fight
yeah.
dangerous
Give me the
machines.
trial.
Give me the trials.
Sounds
Yep,
easy
I'm gonna
enough.
get on with it.
Easy.
So it does
You know,
kind of
girl.
customize itself
I
to
know
the
that for
style of
someone
play
who
that you
doesn't
want.
Fight a Nora, you're treading awfully close.
Another
Fine.
quick question from the
You wanna
Zerbs.
deal with those chuffs
What
at the
feeds
lodge?
into experience
23
does the
half-sons at any
collectibles
hunting
Miller
ground.
mentioned
You'll
earlier
see
add
how
to your
easy
level?
It is to get along there. Better you than me,
I think they
suppose.
do. I think
Do you get
most of
XP when you
this-
pick
I
those
think
up?
most of the side missions and stuff like
one
that will all
and
give
be
you
quick about
XP,
it.
as
I still
does
should explain it.
just hunting, and taking down robots and stuff in the world. So
Yeah, I mean, I do like that the
For this trial, shoot the containers on Strider's backs with fire arrows. If
the
you hit them right, you'll get
collectibles
quite
all
a
have their
fast.
own story connected to them, which I appreciate. Most of them are connected to this one big city that you go to, and particular specialty merchants that you meet there.
Yeah.
And you have to hand in sets of stuff in order to get a particular item reward from those guys.
Good luck with that. Slide down a rope and we can get started.
all
All
right,
right.
Miller, what are you doing now?
Okay, I wasn't really paying attention, which might be a challenge. Shoot Strider canisters using fire arrows.
Okay, that doesn't sound too bad.
Let's see if we can find some Striders. So he's not going to start timing me until we go down.
Oh, there you go.
There's some Striders. So let's mark one of these guys, and we'll see.
Yeah, you're gonna want to watch out for the guy on the right, though.
Yeah, this guy right
Those
here
guys are bad
is
news.
trouble. So he's kind of moved off. Let's go down and see what we can do with these guys. So you can see a timer has already started.
Got it.
So that already got me 2 of them.
Nice. Oh,
He's gone. So now we gotta find more. Is this more over here, maybe?
there you go.
I think this is gonna finish it for us. As soon as they explode.
Just head back. Yep. 6 out of
Beautiful.
4.
6
there
out
you
of
go.
4. Now, you'll note that I did that really fast. Oh man, there's a lot of stuff coming at
Yeah,
me.
you
Let's get out of here.
don't want to piss off that guy.
I actually want to show off this guy's crazy attack if I can get him to do it and not kill me in the process.
I think I'm in the clear.
Come on, buddy.
Is that a fire one or a freeze one?
I think this is the fire one. Oh, this is the freeze one. There's a somewhere around here. There's a fire one.
Yeah, there's. That's
Is
the
this the
fire one. Yep.
Here we go. So this guy's pretty fun. He just literally throws out these like flaming spheres at me, but he can also, if I get close, he'll just do like a flamethrower thing at me. But what I was saying before is that I completed that trial really fast, but if I hadn't, it just would have extended the timer, and it changes the reward that I get.
Yeah.
And that factors into what I get to turn in when I go to the Hunter's Lodge, I think. Eventually, you're kind of wanting to finish all of them.
Stay away for now.
The structure is very much built around getting the best reward that you can from each of the available
Yeah.
trials at all of the lodges.
Yeah, so it's all 15. I think there are 15 trials.
Yes. So if you get all like bronze tier, you get one set. You get one thing. If you get all top tier, so I got a top tier one for this particular trial.
Blazing sun on your first try. That's admirable. Finally, you have the 3 marks you need to enter the Hunter's Lodge in Meridian.
There you
Why
go.
don't you go there right now?
You just can't get any respect
I
from that
feel like
guy.
I should just shoot this guy in the head.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in a trial right now.
So we
Just
kind of
what I
showed off
wanted
one
to
of those.
hear.
We don't need to do a whole lot more,
Yeah.
but Once again, up to level 20. We don't, you'll kind of see here, I only have 1 point, and because I've filled all the like top tier things already, there's nothing really that I can buy.
Yeah.
So we're kind of just waiting for another level now. I will show something that we did just get. This is kind of a weird thing that the game has. I don't totally understand why this was a structure.
Yeah, it's weird.
But there are these treasure boxes. You get them, and I kind of forget about them for a long stretch of time, and then I'll go open them. I got one just now that reminded me because I finished a trial, and this just has like stuff in it. Like there's traps, there's some extra metal shards, which is the money. There's some crafting ingredients, and I just have a bunch of these, so I'm just gonna kind of like open through some of them. You can kind of see what I'm getting through them.
Yeah, it's like they looked at Overwatch and stuff and said, people like
opening boxes, right?
Yeah. But that said, there's no microtransactions
No.
or anything like that associated with them, so.
Which is good.
Yeah.
This game would really be ruined by microtransactions.
Absolutely, yeah.
I'm glad they resisted that urge that so many other developers fail to right now.
Yeah. Cosmic New asks, is the story profound in any way? And I would say yes.
I think the story does have some really interesting things to say. A couple of the things that I like about what they're doing with this story so far is I think they do some really interesting explorations of like culture, of like the interactions between cultures and the misunderstandings between culture, and the way that like different upbringings can make lead to a different way of viewing the world.
There's a whole political structure there in kind of the modern day stuff. But then all the past stuff is really interesting too. And I was very pleasantly surprised by all the kind of twists and revelations towards the end of it. So
cool. I look forward to that. I haven't gotten that far yet.
Let's see.
Another little gathering here.
Stormy Skies asks, how's the cover system, if any, and do you have to be stealthy at any point? There's not really a cover system per se.
No.
You can kind of, she'll kind of duck when you go behind certain things, but this is
the main cover
basically,
system.
this is the cover system where you are hiding. There's a little eye icon up towards the top. It's closed now because you're hidden.
Now it's open.
There it's open. And stealth definitely pays off while
Yes.
you're playing this.
I would say that if you despise stealth, that might be a knock against this game for you.
Yeah.
Because the best way to interact with most things in the world is to start with a stealthy approach. And even when you aren't, once you break stealth, you're still doing a lot of times where you're doing sort of hit and run tactics, right?
Yeah.
The melee system is not so sophisticated that you can get away with just, I'm just going to run in and kill everything because too many things knock you back.
Yep.
You're much better off sort of opening with a, like right now, I'm going to like silent strike this guy. And now that the Watcher's out of the way, I probably could go through, we'll try, and I could silent strike all of these guys without ever starting a combat. Because the Watcher is really the only one of the group that is paying attention, right? The machines are sort of not entirely smart,
Yeah,
right? But purposefully,
they're just
right?
doing their business.
Like they're
right now.
doing the thing that they are supposed to do. They have protocols that they pursue. And you see that this guy saw something was kind of weird, so he kind of got up and is looking around, but even he's not really figuring it out the way that a Watcher would notice me more quickly. And now that I'm in here,
Ready or not.
he wouldn't see me, but as soon as that happens and I get close enough, then now I'm like really in a fight, right?
Yeah, and he took off quite a bit of damage there before he healed as well. Pretty much, aside from the Watchers, all of the enemies can hit pretty hard, so...
He is damaged, though.
Yeah.
This is going to be a short fight.
There you go.
I don't think I got the canister the first time.
The Zerbs asks, you mentioned that there are other weapons. I assumed Aloy only used a bow and staff. Can you elaborate?
Sure.
Yeah, so there are 8 different weapon types. 3 of them are bows, but they each kind of have their own focus. And so the higher tier ones that you unlock, there are 3 tiers as well, as I said. And each of the higher tiers adds another element type, as well as another mod slot. So the best tier weapon will have 3 different ammo types associated with it and 3 mod slots that you can then, boost additional elemental damage or that kind of thing.
So my second tier hunter bow right now has normal arrows and fire arrows.
Yes.
My precision bow has these tear blast or terror blast.
Yep.
Which are meant to knock components off of machines.
Yeah.
And then a precision arrow for sort of like sniper shoot.
Yeah, and those do more damage, basically.
The Tripcaster, you guys have seen me use a couple of times if you've been watching. This is the thing. I'll just kind of use it quick, even though we don't have any enemies. Oh, wait, here's a guy up here. We'll see if we can get this guy. The Tripcaster is, I think, maybe the most interesting thing in terms of like setting up traps. You put this down. You put it down as a line. And then you get the attention of the thing. And then all of a sudden he's like down for the fight. Now we're going to try again. Previously I wanted to kind of show you guys what happens when you override a powerful enemy. I think this will give us an opportunity to see what happens. So I'm gonna get out of the way as much as I can.
Yeah, you see that one took off half your damage there.
Yeah. But like my other guy is pretty cool. Like you can straight up see them like going to battle right now.
There you go.
Nice job, buddy. So he still has some time left on him. I can go do some looting and like pick some stuff up and not be worried because I've still got like 3/4 of the time left on him.
Yeah, to get the heck out of there again.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you'll unlock a couple different other weapon types, some slingshots and things like that. But you can only have 4 equipped at any time, and so you're going to have to make some hard choices of which ones you want to carry around with you.
Let's. I've got a couple other weapons that I can equip here, and I can kind of show you what's going on there. So we have a sling. This is just a low-level sling.
Sure.
But I can equip this and put this in place of like my precision bow, and we can just show what it looks like when I fire it. Yeah, thank you.
Wade's coming in with reinforcements.
Resolve that low battery issue. So the sling, I can actually fire. It's got this sort of like lob approach, and then it does its elemental effect in that area.
Yep.
And so if I go and put it on our buddy here, and then I'll run away from him. So that now puts that effect on him. And he's actually still my buddy. He hasn't gotten totally pissed off yet. But that's how that stuff works.
Brendan Quinn asks, do you fight human enemies? Yes, you do. They are bandits, and you'll run into bandit
cultists.
camps. Yep,
These
all
are
kinds
helpful.
of
Bitter, though.
human guys once you go to civilizations. and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
I actually would love to show a bandit camp. I'm trying to remember. There's one right there, right?
There you go.
Let's go do that one. These are kind of fun. I tend to approach those bandit camps kind of as like a fun little stealth mission, but you can approach it any way you want. You can go in like just try to like kill everybody really fast. I am gonna try to get some healing stuff while I'm on my way up there, though. So there is a bandit camp up there. I'm not sure if this is the best way to get there, though. Let's keep moving on.
The Zerbs asked, someone asked earlier, but you can turn off some of the HUD things. Yes, that is true. You can customize.
I mean, it's not, we've had that question come up a couple times. We can go look at that.
Yeah.
Let's see. Is it under visuals, HUD rendering? No, that's different. Quest pathfinding, HUD always on versus custom.
Yeah, there you
Custom
go.
HUD, and you
So
can
this
change
is basically
all of this
everything
stuff.
that you can go through.
Yep.
And most of it, by dynamic, it means it will turn off when you aren't using it. But if there's stuff that's annoying you, you can just switch it to off.
So there you go. Yeah, anybody can screenshot that if they want to look at it and understand better what you can change. We're going to just go back to dynamic. You can also set difficulty.
Yep.
I think we're going to have to go further on before we can get to this place.
Zakaria asks, how is the lore of this game presented to the player, and how is it collected? You have cutscenes for the modern day stuff. A lot of the lore from the past is handled through audio logs and kind of
Or holographic displays.
Yep, and messages that you'll collect. And all of that stuff was more interesting than I thought. A lot, oftentimes I will skip through some of that in games because it can kind of end up being boring. But all of this feeds into the main mysteries that the game sets up really well. And it was all super interesting to me. So
Yeah, they do. I am sick to death of post-apocalyptic stories, generally speaking. I think there's some great ones out there, but there's been so many that you really have to stand out from the pack. This is part of a genre that is sort of post-apocalyptic, right? It's about a world that the apocalypse and whatever happened to the world is so far gone that it's largely irrelevant to the people who live today, or at least it seems to be.
they're not just trying to live back in the remnants of their previous society.
And this is this sort of lush, beautiful world that has grown up in the many, presumably hundreds of years that have passed, if not thousands of years.
Yeah.
We just don't know. Pursuing what you were talking about before, you do have all of the question about lore. These are like audio data points that you can listen to. I mean, none of these are gonna spoil anything super important for you.
Seriously?
But you come across these things,
Great idea, Director Evans.
and they hint at larger things that happened in the world, but any one piece of them isn't going to spoil anything for you or explain anything. But together, they're kind of fun. Just like how that process works in maybe the most famous of audio log games, BioShock.
Yeah.
How should we get out there? We probably want to take the western path in. So let's circle over this way first.
Scott Vandenberg asks, would you say the game is glitchy? The stream looks fine, but I'd like to know. Ran into very few glitches during this game. It is remarkably polished, especially for games nowadays.
I would also say that in case it took me a while to even notice this when I first started playing, but if I'm not fast traveling, I'm not seeing loading screens in this game.
There are none.
They have done an amazing job of like streaming in content gradually.
Smoke, red tires. More bandits like the ones at Devil's Thirst.
All right, so this I'm gonna have to actually kind of pay attention. So Jeff, you may have to carry the weight of conversing, and I'm actually gonna change out my weapons back to stuff that's more helpful.
You're hunting the most dangerous game of all now, Miller.
Yeah, I am indeed.
Actually, I think robot dinosaurs are more dangerous. I don't think that was factored in when that saying was created, but...
Okay.
Oh,
Headshot.
Yep.
All right. Where's our next target?
Snow chill. Itches.
Let's see. Anyone know what the level cap is? That's a good question.
I don't know the answer to that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was in the 40s when I got to the end of the game. I don't know what the actual cap is. By the time you get to 40, you can buy almost all the skills, and I'm sure you can get enough XP from all the other collectibles and things to completely max out the skill tree. So you don't have to worry about making difficult decisions with that.
Okay. Got our sniper.
The Zerbs ask, what has been your favorite Dinobot to fight? Do you have one yet, Miller?
Maybe the most frustrating and annoying to fight are ones that I encountered. There are these birds that if you kill another enemy in order to get their stuff, they will swoop down and take the goods off of the dead enemy. They're like vultures.
Yeah. They are real jerks. Whoa.
Whoa.
There you go.
Somebody was asking about glitches.
Yep.
That's maybe the first weird little visual glitch I think I've encountered.
They've caged up the captives.
For me, it would have to be the Thunderjaw. That's not exactly original, but that's the kind of
He's
giant
the big
T-Rex.
T-Rex, yeah.
They're a force to be reckoned with. In those fights, my first one went on for like 30 minutes. And they are really exciting stuff. Armakeon says, I think there is a trophy for hitting level 50, so maybe that is your max level cap.
Okay, so we've got some Nora prisoners here,
I'll get this open.
which if
Hold
I
on.
free them, they'll do a pretty good job of being ally AIs in my experience, in that they
you
will
ready to
stay
move?
back, or they'll stay kind of with me, but they won't be the ones that trigger alarms in my experience, right?
Yeah.
They just are going to kind of come along, and if a fight breaks out, as it might at some point here, they'll help.
Yep.
We also have this alarm that I'm going to go dismantle as soon as I make sure that we've cleared all the nearby enemies.
Yeah, Far Cry players will probably be familiar with this concept as well.
That puts it out of action.
If enemies notice you in here, they'll try and run and set off the alarm, which will call in more
More bad guys.
bandits. Yeah.
Okay, so we got some guys inside and a couple people hanging out here. Feels like maybe we want to wait till this guy turns back around. Oh, maybe not.
Silent Knight 11 says, personally, I am tired of games including the ability to see enemies through walls. And I think that's a valid complaint that people may have with this game. It does...
Oh,
Oh, there you go.
this might be the moment. Yep.
It does draw from a lot of tropes that you will see in open world games. So I can appreciate that criticism, but you can always just not use that ability too, if you want.
This is a firecracker shooter. That's a thing you like.
Not exactly the stealth approach. Oh, Miller, that was a close one.
Let's take some health.
Found him!
There you go.
Search off, I win!
All right.
So there's still some dudes up there,
Yep.
clearly, because it hasn't finished the mission for us yet. So let's get some treasure. Most of these bandit camps are kind of nice because not only do you have a nice little treasure cache to find, but when you finish them, it opens this up as a new campfire and a new merchant
Yeah.
that's in this area. It's like basically a new little village settlement.
Yep. You're helping out the other locals and outcasts and whatnot.
I think he's down here. I think he's like further down. He doesn't even know what's going on.
Steve Barfoot asks, no gore on human enemies, and there really isn't.
Not really.
It's a T-rated game, so they keep it. But I don't think that, that didn't really stand out to me, that it was unrealistic or anything like that.
Well, we can't find our last guy. Unless he's like way down here. That seems weird to me though. I don't see any yellow dudes.
Yeah.
I'll find a use for you.
Someone made a joke about the ludonarrative dissonance being avoided, and that is actually kind of one of the interesting things about this game that JV brought up on our podcast. Oh, there you go, Willie. Whereas a lot of the kind of things that all the activities that you're doing feel believable in this world and for this character as you're going on.
I mean, these are, it's very clearly positioned that these are primitive people living in a world where there's a bunch of sophisticated technology left. And so if you can imagine, a tribal warfare between, primitive tribes, it's not that weird that you would be moving through the wilderness and when you encounter bandits and you just have to murder them or they're going to murder you.
Yep.
And then a lot of times you're just fighting machines. And so there isn't any sort of like moral component to that makes it feel weird that there's this young girl who's going around murdering machines.
Yeah. And it's not like, hey, someone kidnapped my kid. I'm going to go screw off in the, post-apocalyptic world and join clubs and whatever, crazy things that you do in other games.
So one thing we haven't looked at yet is the actual buying and selling thing. So you can see my shards in the bottom left. I've got a nice little healthy supply of shards. I could get a new outfit if I wanted to, but as we spoke about earlier, sometimes you need particular things to trade in order to make that happen.
Yeah.
So to get this Ice Hunter sort of blue tier, medium tier gear, I don't have a Shellwalker lens right now, so I can't get that. But I could get the Cygnus Eater one or the Survivor one. The purple tier stuff has fancy headdresses and stuff, and they're pretty cool. I don't know if there's one of these. Is there one you like, Jeff? You want to get the Ice Hunter?
Sure.
I mean, she looks pretty cool, I guess. So for this, you can see I have to use a good chunk of my shards. I need to have a Strider Heart, and I need some metal vessels, which is sort of a random pickup that you get from machine enemies. So if we get this, we'll equip it.
And you should also check in the resources.
To sell or to buy?
To buy. See if they have the... go all the way to the bottom. Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
I think it's not until you get into the next zone over to the west
where they have the gold fast travel pack. Yeah,
exactly.
Which unlocks unlimited fast travel, so you don't have to worry about that.
Oops. I was going to show selling as well. So when you're going to sell, when you guys are playing this game for the first time, don't do what I did. Don't start selling off stuff that says trading with merchants and selling for metal shards. That sounds like the same thing. It's, by the way, it wasn't that big of a deal. You're able to get the stuff that you missed pretty quickly if you make the mistake, as I did. But generally speaking, you don't want to sell all of those things. But you do want to just straight up sell the things that say used for selling for metal shards.
Yep, there's no other use for them, so.
These are kind of cute, by the way. All the icons, like all the names of the thing are what your character thinks they are, and all the icons that you look at are what you know they are, which I think is cute. Like this is a set of car keys that that the merchants and that Aloy thinks are ancient chimes.
Of course.
And so we're gonna sell those off. We're gonna sell these off. We're gonna sell these off.
Question from the chat: how high is the height of the game? Can you get really high up on a mountain and gaze at the beautiful scenery?
There's a couple spots you get pretty high up. Again, the game is not too much about climbing. There's only a few spots in the world where you do climbing.
Yeah, but there are plenty of mountains and plenty of, beautiful vistas that you will be looking at. So
yeah, I'm just gonna clear out some inventory here, but we don't need to spend too much time with it. I just want to kind of show off the way the merchant system works. So we got our new armor on. This also allows us now to kind of explore how modifying outfits works. So if I select this, I've got 2 slots because it is a sort of second tier thing. And if we want to have it be a little bit better for stealth and also resist fire, we can put this one on. We'll equip that. And then we'll take a look here. Generally speaking, blue's better than green. So if we want to also resist some melee attacks and resist shock, we can put this equipped on. And now this is how she looks. The modifications don't, to my knowledge, change anything about the visuals. But I think the outfits look pretty like weird and fun.
Yeah.
You're talking earlier, she looks a little goofy maybe because she's wearing like machine parts like they're bones. But that's the way the world looks at this stuff in this fantasy. All right, moving on. Hey, do you want to fire the firecracker gun a couple more times?
Sure.
It just kind of cracks me up because that's all it is. It's just a bunch of firecrackers.
Someone asked if we can show the photo mode.
Yeah. I haven't messed with that much. You spent a little time with that, so I might hand the controller over to you to illustrate that. Photo mode is right down in the pause menu. You can pull it up at any time. And it lets you do, maybe you want to find a better like visual to look at, like looking out across at the mountains or something.
And so you can, move it around up and down to kind of get your, whatever you want to look at. The field of view just kind of zooms out or in on whatever you want to see. Roll, fine. You can hide Aloy if you don't want her in there.
That's a cool functionality.
Yeah. If you just want to take landscape pictures or whatnot. Depth of field. This will change kind of what's in focus and what's not if you want that. These are basically like Instagram, filters that you can put on and then kind of decide how much they go on. The time of the day is the one other cool one that you might want to play with.
That is neat.
Because so you can just
have
set
the
it up
shadows
to
passing.
Whatever time you want.
The game really does have some moments of blissful beauty to it, right? There's times that it's reminiscent for me of like moments in like Red Dead Redemption. I remember having those qualities where you're just like, you pause for a moment and the sun's setting and there's cool music playing and it's very quiet.
And it's really beautiful. Yeah, this is the first game where I actually messed around with the photo mode because there were moments where I was like, oh man, this looks great.
It looks really cool.
I would actually want a picture of it. And actually my review, I used all my own screenshots that I took with the photo mode, and they all look really good.
Way to go.
Those aren't doctored images from Sony or anything. Those are straight from the game.
That's cool. So we got any questions still coming through? I want to make sure people kind of know what they want to know before they make a decision about picking this game up.
Yeah, if you've got them, let us know. I'm sure we missed a lot earlier, so if yours didn't get answered, feel free to
Or
re-ask.
if there's just specific questions that you have, like opinions you're curious about related to particular aspects of the game, or how it. Earlier we had some people asking about how it compares to Game A or Game B. We can talk about some of that stuff as well. I think we got another 20 minutes or so here. We're going to be rolling through?
Yeah, about that. Steve Barfoot asks, is there a dynamic weather system? Will I get into a fight with a Thunderjaw in a thunderstorm? There sure is, yeah. And the weather can actually make a huge difference in terms of visibility and stuff.
Never know when I might need these.
As well as, the day-night cycle that goes on.
I think they do what most developers do. I'm not positive about this. But I think that they have times that they dictate the weather because, like...
Sure.
It will add to the story elements at that point.
No passage west and no exceptions, so long as corrupted machines prowl the valley.
Then why don't you do something about the infestation?
We have! We sealed the border!
Fine. I'll come back once I've destroyed all the corrupted.
Huh? If you're serious, then may you go in light, girl, and the sun guide your arrows.
So you're talking before, we'll get back to the question about the weather in a second, but just while we're on the topic here, we were talking before a little bit about the different cultures. There's straight up whole religious systems with religious texts in this game that help make the different cultures distinct one from another. The guys we just talked to are part of this religion that venerates the sun, Whereas like the tribe that our character comes from is all about kind of like this Earth Mother kind of quality, and that plays in a really interesting way into the nature of how that tribe is set up. Like their leaders are all mothers because they think about this kind of like this Earth Mother, and so if you're a mother in that culture, you have a certain value to the tribe, and if you have a grandmother, then they brought me right in the midst of it, didn't they? If you're a grandmother, you have a higher tier, and the great grandmothers of the tribe are its leaders because there's only a few of those at any one time. Which I think is kind of neat. Whereas like the Karja, as I said, have this kind of like sun worship thing going on. Let's see if these guys come through here.
Let's see. Lots of questions coming in now. Are there any big set pieces in the game? There are some, and we don't want to spoil anything, but some of them are pretty cool.
Yeah. We are purposefully staying away from stuff that's too story focused. I mean, we're kind of right now doing some stuff that's about how you move forward in the main quest, but there's no actual like story stuff we're dealing with here.
Yeah.
It's more just that like we have to get this gate open to move on to the later missions.
Can you explore the map freely or as you want, or are areas restricted? They're a little restricted at the beginning, but it opens up pretty early in the game. I think that's basically what we're at now, is kind of the west is blocked off, but you open that pretty early, and from then on you can kind of visit what other unexplored areas that you have in there.
I really like this weapon that just lets me tie people down on the ground. All right. So there's one corrupted zone, even though I teleport it right into the middle. Got some XP for that.
I'm curious about this one. Would you recommend this game for people who, like me, tend to prefer linear games to open world games?
That's a tough one. That kind of really...
This game is fundamentally an open world game. There's no two ways about it. I think even if you were to follow the main story mission, it sort of almost demands that you engage with some of the other elements of the game, like hunting and gathering, in order to
stuff like that.
to progress.
I guess it would depend on how much you dislike open world games. You know, if you prefer linear games and you don't mind open world games, that's something. But if you just have an aversion to kind of the open world format, then you're probably not going to like this one.
I think that might have been our last corrupted zone. What do you think? I don't see any more back here. I think I'd done one other prior to when we were on the stream. So we might be able, let's go find out if we go back and see what they have to say to us. I think that there is a linear thread through the game from a story perspective.
For sure.
That you can follow pretty closely. But I would also say that the side missions, they do a good job of not making them feel rote or boring.
All the story mission kind of side missions, I really ended up enjoying.
Yeah. See if this goofy guard's a little happier with us now.
Without spoiling anything, is there an antagonist in the game? Are they interesting or just generic bad folks? There are some antagonists that will probably get under your skin. I guess that aspect isn't as hugely important as figuring out the underlying mysteries. They kind of complicate it and, you know, delay your progress sometimes, but I wouldn't say they're a driving force of the story.
Oh, I guess I didn't.
Oh, Miller. Good comeback, Miller.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know where they are, though. So, I'm not sure what we can do about that. Maybe it's in an area that I just haven't explored yet. That might be what's going on. Do you want to see the... Should we look at a cauldron? Is that... I don't know.
Yeah, that might be somewhat spoilery.
Yeah. Well, I'll just say that there are things called cauldrons in this game that I think are one of the coolest sort of discovery moments of the game.
Definitely surprising.
When you get to go in and you see what is inside the cauldron, you'll come across your first one pretty early in the game. Actually, let's go look. What do you say we look at the tall neck?
Sure.
And just show what that's like with the tall neck here. I might not have any fast travel things yet. Do I? Oh yeah, I still have a bunch. But the cauldrons I think are one of several things in the game that that have this primitive world butting up against something that is harder to understand and that is really exciting and compelling. It taps into that sensation that I like so much in a good video game, where you really spend a certain amount of time when you go into those spaces just kind of being like, whoa, this is really crazy and really weird.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see. More questions. How is the difficulty? Are you ever underpowered?
I felt like the game does a good job of balancing the sense that you can go kind of wherever you want. I mean, it does kind of close some areas off. There's our awesome tall neck, by the way. It does close some sections off that you have to, like, go do some stuff to open up. But in some ways, it's less interested in trying to balance, per se, and more interested in just what's going to make for an interesting encounter here, right? Like, if there's a really powerful enemy here that can kill you in one hit because you haven't really leveled up very much yet, then by necessity, the way you need to interact with it is different.
Sure. Yeah, there are some of the enemies that they're never going to be easy, and they're always going to be super deadly, and you just have to kind of factor that into your approach and decide when you should just run away and avoid them.
Right.
So there were, I guess, to answer the question, there were times when I felt underpowered, but I don't think it was because, I hadn't leveled up or I felt like the difficulty balance was off. And again, there are different difficulty settings as well, so if you really aren't having a fun time, you could bump it down to an easier setting.
Yeah.
Do monsters respawn for farming and/or collecting stuff? Witcher 3 had slow respawns and barely at all. I don't think you have to really worry about things not respawning. Basically, whenever you go to a place, you're going to end up finding robots out there.
There's robots everywhere.
Yeah.
Including this awesome guy who we're going to try to jump up onto.
I'm just curious, can you kill those?
No.
I don't think so.
No, these are
like these fun little platforming challenges. I've already done this one, and so the thing that you could normally do at the top, you're kind of on some sort of mysterious mission connected to finding these guys. You detect these signals with your focus, and then you go and you track them down, and then when you get up to the top here, you can then like slam your power spear thing down into its head, and it gives you some special info.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know what that's about yet. Jeff probably does, and he's being good and not saying anything about it.
You'll figure out that mystery as well.
But come on, man, this is super cool.
Yeah.
Like, you're up on top of this, like, basically a robot brontosaur over the tops of trees, and it's actually moving through the world. Like, I can, like, if I leapt off right now, I would die, but I could do that. You can rappel down. I think one of the things that happens is when you do rappel down the first time, or when you trigger the thing and then you rappel down, it actually sends out this shock wave to everything nearby. And so if there's other nearby machines, it actually badly damages them and gives you a good chance to kind of take them down, which is sort of handy.
Yeah, and they don't overdo this kind of thing. It's not like Assassin's Creed where there are like 30 of them. There are only like 6 of these, and they actually kind of vary up the formula and add some different twists in it in the later ones, so it doesn't get repetitive.
Yeah, but that's pretty cool.
Those guys are pretty sweet.
I like those guys a lot. But yeah, I mean, I think we're getting pretty close to having shown what I think you'd want to know about this game ahead of whether you'd want to pick it up. We're the people who are asking sort of about like set piece moments and story stuff. We're sort of very purposefully avoiding that. Oh, this is kind of a fun thing. We'll do this little side mission while we're here. I forgot I had this one active.
One clarification to one of our previous questions. He says, does the increase of difficulty just make the enemies spongier, or does it actually increase their intelligence? I wouldn't say that it would increase the intelligence. Like, okay, you fight one Snapjaw and he's easier, and then later in the game he gets more advanced or anything like that. It's more the unrolling of different types of machines that you'll find. The later ones are much more difficult and much deadlier. And then you'll run into different kind of combinations of,
right,
like a couple of one type and some other ones.
And how do you deal with that scenario? Or how do you deal with that scenario when you're on a open meadow with no stealth locations?
Yeah.
Or how do you deal with it when you're in the middle of a forest? I think that the encounters can be a lot of fun. And as I mentioned before, I started to get really addicted to just kind of running around the world, gathering stuff, and then just being like, ooh, there's some machines over there.
Yeah.
I'll go piss them off for no particular reason.
And then get suckered into a giant fight.
Yeah, exactly. So this is a little side mission I'd forgotten I had. This is another one where I gotta like track some people who got in over their head out in the middle of the wilderness. So I'm gonna go see what happened to them.
One know-it-all named Andrew Reiner says, Brontosaur isn't a real dinosaur. Come on, Miller.
We should specify that he is not a mod on our channel, and likely not the real GI Reiner.
Oh, okay.
I see.
Well, that sounded like something Reiner would say.
It
anyway.
does. I am a child of the '80s, and in the '80s that was a real dinosaur.
Yeah.
What do they call it now?
I don't know. Like I said, I'm a child of the '80s.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's do our little trick. See if we can get these guys fighting each other. So that would be a fun thing to see.
Waylon Kennedy asks, will this ever be on Xbox One? I wouldn't hold your breath for that. Guerrilla's a first-party studio.
Go fight for me. This is gonna be cool. Yeah. I hope our guy wins. I think he's gonna.
Yeah, he's doing pretty good.
I think it's still gonna, in order to complete the mission, I think I might still have to murder this guy though. So, sorry.
Yeah. It hasn't stopped you before, Miller.
Oh, interesting, because he's
he's
on my side, it won't let me do that. We'll just have to do this.
Oh, Miller is so cruel. There we go. He's not happy now. Another question, are there faster methods of travel other than fast travel in the map? Fast travel is the fastest way. You can mount some of the enemies, which will make it easier to run from one place to the other. But
I think your experience, we talked about this a couple days ago, your experience has been a lot like mine, that the mounting thing is a very cool idea, and I'm happy that they have it to allow you to, like, do that. You do get a perk at one point that I think lets you just endlessly summon a mount.
Yeah.
Right? Without ever needing to actually capture it, so that's an option. But I do a lot of running around in this game just because I like the running, I like the gathering, I like stopping and turning and seeing what's over off to the right, off the road.
Just go about your business.
yeah, I didn't use mounts very much when I played either.
What happened to our guys? I thought they were supposed to be right here. Are they not here?
What's the mission on this one?
Explore the ruin.
All right.
Oh, this is one of those. This is just like a little collectible thing. Found a text data point. I don't need to look at it right now, but those just show up all over the place. I think maybe I still need to like search for something in this area to complete the mission. Here we
You're
go.
that brave who was outcast. What are you doing here?
Your friend Den told me to come find you. Why are you up there?
The Sawtooth ripped our packs from us. Me. Us. Without weapons, this was the best we could manage. Thank you so much for destroying it. Now we can get home. One thing, you won't tell anyone you saw us here, will you?
I didn't. At least, not your friend.
There's a lot of ungrateful
help
jerks
getting
in this
down?
game.
There is,
We'll go
and there are a
back
lot
on
of
our
people
own.
who just flagrantly
this the wrong
break the
way, but
rules.
Yeah.
Maybe we
Like
shouldn't be seen with you,
the
or
Nora tribe
they
is
might
so
figure us
serious
out.
about making people outcasts when they break the rules, and everyone you meet, first of all, they're breaking the rules just by talking to
Yes,
you
they are.
because you're an outcast. To
Or at
begin
least
with.
at the beginning they are,
Yeah.
right? I guess that changes a little bit later
Yeah.
on, but
But then everyone is, oh, I'm not supposed to be here. I shouldn't be doing this. Don't tell anyone that I did this.
yeah, it's a bunch of hypocrites.
Yeah. It's like rules don't matter anymore. Another question, is the game hard to play like Neo? It is definitely not that
No, it's
hard.
not like that. This is pretty. I think this is a pretty accessible game for all sorts of players. You can set the difficulty in such a way that like it's mostly just about like exploration and story. I am just playing it on normal, and it's a good time. It's not super rough, but it's not. You know, I'm in danger if I do stupid stuff.
Yeah. Evil Spyro asks, do you think they'll add story DLC later on? That's a tough one. And I
Yeah.
don't know that they've said anything about DLC.
The game really is very large.
Mm-hmm.
I want to emphasize that again, that like, if only because I didn't understand that until I played it. Like, I think I was under this perception that's like, well, it's kind of a role-playing game. It's kind of supposed to be this big game, but it's really probably like a, you know, you run around this one little valley and then you're done, and it's a, you know, 10 little missions and maybe a couple of like weird collectibles you go do. This isn't that kind of a game. Like, this is a big, complicated action RPG with a lot of ins and outs and a lot of collectibles to go after. A lengthy main story mission, lots and lots of side missions beyond that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Let's go run and turn this guy
And the
in.
story by the end really answered all of my questions.
It'll be hard to know where to go from here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get that sense about the structure of the story. Even though I'm not anywhere near to as far as you were when you finished it, you can already get the sense that there's a very concrete, clear story that's being told here, and that it has an endpoint, that it just is structured that way.
Yeah.
Which I think you and I will have some interesting conversation to have after I finish about like where do they go from here, because I don't have. Listen, man, I don't have any doubt once this game is out tomorrow, word is going to spread like wildfire that this is a really good game. I think the reviews are already out communicating that.
Yep.
But once everybody else in the world has a chance to actually play it, I think there's going to be a lot of people who just like dig in to the fact that there's
found your
moments
friends,
that this
you know
game is
where.
like great,
I'll be back shortly.
and everything else when it's not absolutely great, it's never bad. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Like the crafting and the collectibles,
matriarchs are up singing
the
the hymn of
combat, the storytelling, all of it is always good and never makes me cringe or never makes
Yeah.
me be like, oh, that was stupid. Like that was
That's
structured
not what I meant,
badly.
but-
Yeah. And that actually dovetails into one of our last questions. We have someone asked what my biggest criticism of the game was. And like I said, I gave it an 8.75. And it really, I think people hear the score 8.75 and they think, oh, it's a really great game. And then it did something bad that took away, you know, a point and a quarter or
Yeah.
whatever.
One of
And
them,
it really
maybe.
isn't. It's just
didn't
that
fight
kind of
You're Maria.
a lot of kind of the
Paul told me
activities
you
and
know the Witch
mechanics you have
moving.
seen in other games
Yeah.
and you are familiar with them. It doesn't make it. It doesn't mean that they're bad. It just kind of isn't up to the same bar as everything else.
Yeah, I think that's fair. The innovation meter here is mostly in setting and world building, and
Then I'll go to the fort and
just
pretend it's
doing
that
some
way.
interesting things with how they've structured the overall game.
Mm-hmm.
But the actual things you're doing, the combat, like the aiming is totally like, this is aiming the way you would think you would aim a bow, and this is a gathering system and a leveling system that works the way you would think that should work.
Some of the side activities, you've seen in other games that we've been discussing them here.
Yeah.
But to give credit where credit is due, all the robots are really interesting, and they do feel much more unique than standard third-person, open world action games have. So
There's our corrupted zone, man. There, we found it.
one more other last question. Zaid asks, except Aloy, are there memorable characters in the game? And there are a couple.
Yeah, I think so.
They're kind of interesting characters. There's some of the characters are kind of weird. They're kind of off, and you kind of wonder, like, all right, what's that guy's problem?
But not necessarily in a way that's like, oh, that's badly written.
No.
It's more that they're odd, and because they want it to make some interesting, weird characters.
Yeah.
I really like one guy I really like is this guy who's trying to collect coffee cups. And he thinks they're ancient artifacts for beard trimming.
Yeah, real stupid. I don't understand how you can't figure out what a cup is, since
Well,
you still have cups, presumably.
Aloy even points that out to him at one point. He's like, do you think maybe they just drank out of these things? And the guy's like, no. So yeah, I think there's some fun characters that you meet. But I wouldn't say that it's not super focused on other characters.
Yeah.
Aloy, on the other hand, I really like. I think she's a great new video game hero, who is just has a sort of wry undercurrent of a sense of humor, but most of the time she's just trying to be a good person and do what she needs to do, but she's got this priority about finding out who she is and where she comes from, and that kind of overrides everything else, and it's this kind of passion for her that carries you through the game, and carries the story forward. And I really don't have any complaints about Aloy or her introduction as a new hero.
Sure. I was less impressed with her as a character, but I do think that her role in the story is really interesting.
Yeah.
And they kind of build on that in really interesting ways, and everything that you learn about her makes you appreciate it more. So I don't like those big ostrich guys, Miller.
They're trouble.
They're trouble.
Well, as we kind of start to wind down the stream here, I just want to remind everybody that we are also going to be live streaming this Friday.
Another big open world game, right?
We're going to be streaming Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild on the Switch.
What is this Zelda you speak of, Wade? New indie?
It's a game. Yeah, it's an indie game Kickstarter that's not at all not at all like the game we're playing now.
Sure.
So that's going to be around noon Central Time. Double check the time on that, but that'll be coming up this week, so make sure to come back for that.
Sure. Well, everybody, thank you for watching, and I hope we answered most of your questions. So yeah, come back around on Friday for Zelda. Miller, are you gonna be able to finish these guys off?
I don't know. I think we should leave it up in the air.
Oh, mystery.
It's a mystery of whether Aloy's
Will
going to
Aloy survive
encounter.
this, or
I think she's going to be all right.
Is this where the adventure ends? Yes.
But yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. I hope we answered what you wanted to know about the game. I mean, just to kind of close out, and as an addendum to Jeff's, what I thought was an excellent review of the game, I think that it's very rare that we have a genuinely new franchise that is as ambitious and broad-reaching as this title is. If that's something that you care about, you know, you gotta vote with your wallet.
Sure.
Like, I think this game is doing a lot of the things that we who play a lot of video games talk about. Like, we want to see developers try new things and new franchises and not constantly go back to the sequel well. And this is that game right now. This is a game that is trying to do those things. And sure, it's maybe not, as we just talked about, changing the world in terms of its design elements, but it certainly is something brand new in terms of being a new franchise. And if that's something that you care about and you want to see more developers in the AAA space try to do that kind of thing, you know, this is an opportunity to say that that's something that you like.
Agreed.
I did it, by the way.
You did.
I did it.
She survived that one.
No more corruption zone. So now that the live stream's over, we're going to go and explore this new part of the world.
Perfect.
There we go.
But yeah, for the rest of you guys,
Everyone
you'll
else
have
can
to
do it
check it out.
tomorrow.
You have to
Yep.
do it tomorrow. But yeah, thanks for watching, everybody.
Thank you.